Hi, Eric Meyer here, and I am going to be fixing this little miter plane that I made about 2 years ago. It's worked out real well, but in that time I've noticed some problems with it, so we're going to take care of those today. So, first things first, this doesn't adjust very well, and that is completely my fault. The issue here is that there's too much of a gap between the front of this lever cap and the plane iron. So the lever cap needs to be about like this for it to engage that iron. But then in doing so, this thumb screw would need to be a lot longer, and it actually ends up putting pressure back here. It's actually past the bed, so I'm not real sure what that's going to do for stability. So I ended up adding this wedge in. And there's other plane makers that have used the wedge system, so I know it works. I just didn't do it very well. As you can see here, the front of the lever cap is really dug in, and then the same here for the thumb screw. And it makes it incredibly difficult to advance or retract the iron. Additionally, so this iron is a great iron. It's a Hawk iron. It wasn't meant for this plane. It was meant for a scrub plane, and I adapted it. It still has some of the radius from when it was a scrub, and then it's got about 3 or 4 bevels just from my poor sharpening. So I need to get all of that fixed, and there's a slight skew in it, so I need to take that down as well. I don't really know if that's causing any problems, but if we're fixing stuff, we're going to make sure this is all done right. The bigger issue is back here at the back. So like I said, this is a great iron, but it wasn't meant for this plane. It was meant for a scrub plane. Well, the difference here is that these planes, the way you use them is typically, you don't grip it down here like this. You grip it by the iron and then push like this, so your iron actually becomes your handle. Well, this isn't that comfortable to use as a handle because these corners are just dig into your palm. So we're going to round all of this out. And while we're here, I don't love the way this thumb screw looks. I think I'm going to reshape it, and this is one I worked on actually for another project. But as you can see, this one over here, I like the look of a lot better. So I think I'm going to try to do something similar to this. I'm going to modify that profile. I'm going to reshape this blade first. If this doesn't look great or work out well, then there's no sense in doing the rest of this. It took me a few tries, but that top line is the one we're going for. So I'm certainly not an expert, but what I'm doing here is just kind of rotating this back and forth, and I keep one of my fingers close to the edge, and as soon as I start feeling the heat, that's when I dunk this. Because if it'll get too hot, it'll pull the temper out. It won't be hard anymore. So this is where we've ended up. I think that's going to be a lot better. Okay, so the real test, it's not sharp, so it's not going to cut. I just want to see what it feels like, more so than anything. Oh yeah, that is a massive improvement. It doesn't dig into your hand anymore. That is exactly what that needed to be. We're going to head over to the lathe and redo this knob. This is just some round stock with a 1/4-20 hole tapped into it. So now I can stick that on there. I can reshape it So I'm just doing this by eye. I'm trying to establish a bevel here. And it's mostly just based on how wide I want the knurling. So now I'm just trying to, I'm basically just putting in more and more bevels until I get this whole thing rounded. Because right now it's domed, but then it's going to flatten out. That's pretty close. I'm going to switch over to a smaller file just so I have some more control. Okay, now I'm moving to a second cut. Just trying to get all those file marks out. Okay. So just use that marker there. So when I have all the black lines removed, I know that I'm done with that part of it. Means I should have all the file marks from the more coarse files out. Alright, I'm just going to take this up through the grits. I'll bring you back when I'm done. Alright, and just for reference, this one here is basically what we started out as. And then that's where we ended up. Alright, I'm over at the drill press. I'm just going to try to peck out this screw here. Don't have a specific plan for this. I'm going to cut it oversize, and then I'm going to do my shaping to get it to fit. So I'm really just trying to find something I think looks nice. All right, I'm back over at the lathe. I have the milling arm on it. So the plan here is to get this to fit. And then I can come back and trim out this area over here. So I went ahead and milled some steps here into the front, and I'm just going to take it over to the disc grinder now and round it out. So I have some 120 that I put some duct tape on the back of just to help hold it together. And then I'm using that to try to blend these surfaces. So I'm using a 1/4 tap. So this will fit the thumb screw and allow the blade to tighten up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark my holes. I ended up remaking my knob. Even with all these changes, the thread wasn't quite long enough. Yeah, that's going to do it. So I did this finish on some calipers that I just made, but that was with steel. So I'm not sure if it's going to work for brass. But the idea is you blacken it, then you throw it in a bucket with a bunch of scraps and shake it up. I like it. So it's a bit of a misconception that miter planes were designed specifically for like shooting operations and end grain work. I mean, really, they certainly do that well, but they're also just general purpose smoothers. So mine has a bed angle of 25 degrees on it. So if I'm going to put this, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen this at 25 for the bevel as well. So that gives it a 50-degree projection angle, which makes this great for general smoothing operations or really tricky grain. It's not going to be so great for end grain work. It'll do it, it'll just be harder to push. There we go. Ooh, this is a lot better. I was actually going against the grain on that one. Didn't realize it. Man, I am super thrilled. If you like what you saw, subscribing, liking, all that stuff really helps out the channel. And if you want to do that, I sincerely appreciate it. And if you don't, that's cool too. At any rate, thanks for joining me today. I'll see you on the next one.